Batman 145, Legacy number 910. Chip Zdarsky writing, Jorge Jimenez is back on the art after that, flashback Joker Year One story.
Which doesn't really feel like that much of a different arc to what's going on here, ultimately.
No, because
it just feels like more of the same.
I actually forgot, like, what set up that Joker Year One story was Bruce been thrown in the same cell as him, and so when this started, I was like, oh, yeah, that's why that started. Yeah. Okay, fair enough.
But obviously, I like Jimenez is still probably the best part of this book right now. But I quite like having Sorrentino.
Yeah. The Sorrentino art was next level, but it was only a small fraction of each of those issues. It wasn't the whole thing.
Well, even the main art, we didn't have issues with. The main art was even fine. I'm drawing a blank on the artist.
Oh, well, yeah, it wasn't bad, but when you went from a Sorrentino page to it was like, okay, we're back to normality.
That's the thing is that Zdarsky's getting these great artists to work with, and we're having to choke down this. I don't want to deal with being in mind prisons anymore ever again.
So Connor has not been here, right? And he just caught up in all of this, right? So I want to ask a question about those last three issues before we get into this.
So I read whatever before the Joker Year One. I read that like 2 months ago, and then I read 4 issues of this now.
So these last 3 issues before this one, did you have a similar sort of reaction as us to one of the mentors that was introduced in the night popping up and helping train the Joker to basically do his own Zura and R, potentially, if that's the explanation for the 3 Jokers? What was your feelings in all of this?
Okay, well, obviously I think we've kind of been expecting Zdarsky to kind of pseudo-canonize his stuff in the night anyway.
And I've hated every single time it's came up, but yeah.
I'm not like... I hate the context of how it's used, but I'm not opposed to him bringing that stuff into mainline continuity.
Him bringing in the cat thief from Paris, I think that was fine, but because she wasn't a central role, not like this guy.
Yeah,
Captio,
ultimately, at the end of the day, the way he's doing this, like the outcomes may be not great, and the usages are kind of awful. But there's precedence, right? If bringing that outside continuity in from your own I mean, it's no different to like Oracle, for example.
Oh, sure. I think, but it feels like there's a lot of it, and it's just kind of weird to me because it's not like that mini was presented as a precursor to his Batman run. We didn't even know he was getting Batman until
like 2/3 through, and then we were like, oh, okay, so this is. It was one of the things that as soon as it was announced they was doing Batman, we understood this was a precursor to the run, even if it wasn't officially continuity.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it's just that on top of that, I also just hated how it kind of felt like, oh, we're doing that same thing that 0 Year did, where it's kind of like trying to like fit around things that have been established, and it feels so clunky.
I hate that. So I've always hated the idea of having the definitive Red Hood thing as part of his origin. But, as one of the options, I was always okay with that, but I've never liked that being the definitive. Oh, this guy was the Joker, but this is him before.
Actually, the only thing I liked in that entire Year One story we just got is that one moment in the first part where it kind of implies that the family or the wife from the Killing Joke wasn't really his wife, because the Joker goes to the house and like tries to say goodbye or whatever, and she's like, "Who are you?" Kind of thing. That implication that was also just a story. Right. It was just something he said.
That's the bit I like. The idea that he is just that mentally insane that he does not know what is real and what isn't. So the idea that he can tell this story about being Red Hood in the past, but that doesn't make it real. But the problem is in this comic, that was very much presented as this is real now. Like he's interacting with too many people connected to that gang and who know who he is. It was like, no, this is just definitive at this point.
That said, I don't know if the Red Hood gang was always meant to be crooked cops, but I do like the fact that they were using him as a patsy. Yeah, I don't mind that either, because that kind of ties the Gordon stuff in of him being a good cop and standing against that.
We already had that in Year One.
Yeah, I know, but that
was the whole point of Year One. It was his entire story in that is him being the lone good cop.
Right, but I do like the idea that these crooked cops are also responsible for Joker, right? As much as Batman was. He's a creation of Gotham.
I don't. I think I prefer if we're going with okay, he was red-hooded like that. That's the origin.
Mm-hmm.
I'd prefer to be just a creation of Batman, right? Like Batman Rise. There's an opposite force. So order versus chaos, right? I think the police it muddies it up too much for me for that kind of thematic storytelling.
It just makes it too specific. It makes it too engineered, I guess, in a way that I just don't want the Joker to be. But I mean, even then, like the bigger problems with it is all the stuff with him being trained to be the Joker, right? Even though it implies at the end that maybe he was just kind of faking it all along to learn stuff, he was already really the Joker. I just like for a story called Joker Year One, I didn't feel that by the end he'd went through like an arc or changed or became the Joker by the end. It just kind of flipped a switch and now he's Joker. I don't know. I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah.
Despite all that, because like you said, we did like that scene where he sees himself in the reflection, right? And that's the last time he sees his true self. But then Zdarsky got away from that as the story went. So it's a very muddled story throughout.
Fundamentally, it's an entire story I just don't want to exist. Like, I wish I'd never read it. I wish it was never written.
Stop pretending that 3 Jokers is a real thing.
Yes,
stop it. And I don't feel any better with this issue. I just feel worse again that we're back doing this shit. And I don't like his voice for Joker. I don't like this Brucey nonsense that he keeps doing. All I can see, Connor will get this reference. I'm just hearing Bruce Forsyth when he says Brucey. That's all I'm hearing. Right?
Yeah.
I used to love the concept of Zur-En-Arrh, just as that as Morrison had put it in R.A.P., the break glass in case of emergency version of Bruce. This is the Bruce that is a basic operating system in case things get that bad. Now I'm at the point, thanks to Zdarsky, I never want to see Zur-En-Arrh. Here's Zur-En-Arrh.
He's killed it. He's killed it for me.
Again. And it took a concept that I think is a lot of fun and can be played with in the right. Before this, I would have loved to see Ram V's type take on Zur-En-Arrh.
Well, that's
with
the
this
thing.
whole idea of ideas.
Ram V basically is doing his take on it in Detective right now. It's just not it's just not actually Zur-En-Arrh, but this idea of the inner beast of him fighting for control is very much a big part of that book, which is what makes this even more painful because this is such shite.
You can see the better version next to it on the shelf.
But I'm talking even the full suit with the purple cowl and the red and just to see how that stands out against the Batman that we know. It doesn't
retroactively make Anthony Morrison's run worse by any means, but he has killed this for me forever now. I never want to see Zur-En-Arrh again. Like, I'm done. I don't want to see it.
And this whole thing about them not realizing this, the Bat family, not realizing that this Bruce is a robot, too.
Well, they do realize that. They talk. It's the very first thing they say about it.
Okay,
he
maybe I
explains
forgot that because.
Zur-En-Arrh's uploaded himself into the body.
Oh, hold on.
Yes.
Right. Anyway, I need to explain this for the audience, Matt. Anyway, before you jump into what you don't like about it.
Yeah.
So Zur-En-Arrh has built his own bat robot suit, which, by the way, I hate how it looks. To get that out of the way first, it makes me think so much of that goddamn bunny bat suit in that part of the New 52 run that I didn't like.
I don't hate that much of it. I just hate the arms and the hands and the fingers.
It feels so extra, like especially those fingers, like those big long squiddly fingers.
That's the point where it loses me. The top being like really rounded, it's very anime, but I don't hate it. But then it gets the fingers. I'm like, why?
It's just over designed to me. I'm just not a fan. But basically, he runs into Jason quite quickly, and he explains to Jason that his body was damaged beyond repair, and he had to upload his consciousness into a robot. But it's Bruce, and it's like a screen in the face where Bruce's face is being like displayed.
I like how he starts to take the cowl off.
Yeah. But that's kind of what the bulk of the issue actually is when we get into it. Is the Bat family trying to decide what to do and if they should trust that it's really Bruce or not?
Yeah. So here's my thing. So I know why I didn't remember this, because I put this down as I was falling asleep, and when I picked it up, my tablet had moved me 2 pages, and I just kept reading the next time I picked it up. So when you said Jason, I totally didn't realize that, because I remember putting it down on the Jason page, but when I picked it back up, I just started reading to get it over with. So I'm reading this the whole time going, are they dumb? That is a robot face on Bruce. And I got very concerned. So
they know it's a robot. They're debating whether or not it's really Bruce's consciousness that's now in a robot, or if it's, you know. But obviously, we're seeing this Batman be vicious. He's willing to kill. He's willing to, like, if someone's like already been to prison and got back out, he's like, well, you're clearly a lost cause. So, you know, tell all your friends I'm Batman. Blah 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 blah. Yeah. Meanwhile, Bruce is in a cell in Blackgate with Joker, and Joker just will not shut up. Like I said, I hate Zdarsky's voice for Joker. I don't like it at all. But Bruce gets out by lockpicking with like a part of the straitjacket the Joker's in, and goes rummaging about, basically. And he puts bandages over his face so none of the villains can recognize him, which is why he looks like Hush on the cover, because he's just sort of made like a bandage cowl for himself. He speaks to Vandal Savage for a bit. He fights some robots. There's not really much to it. Meanwhile, on the outside, the Bat family are debating, like, should they trust this robot? Is it really Bruce? He's obviously acting a little bit out of character, and Zur-En-Arrh decides to broadcast all over Gotham's Times Square and all the screens in the city that Batman is taking control because the city's devolved into a cesspool of evil and corruption. And he's making charge. I feel
like we've had this story 3 times in the last 5 years.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like, Failsafe taking over Gotham in the first arc was the first big red flag that we've done this so many times with various villains. But now this idea that, I'm
just thinking, like, in terms of like the recent history, we had going back a little bit, but Tynan's detective had that future Tim Drake state.
That's right, yeah. Yeah.
At that. Even the stuff in at the back end of Kings where it was the villains that had taken over, and it was like, but it had been cut off from the rest of the US. They were like, no, you're on your own. You're your own little nation state essentially right now. I get a lot of vibes of that still from this.
Yeah. I just like, can we tell a smaller story, please? Can we do something where it's not as big scale as this? I think
it's insane because the whole point of this story should be Bruce's psyche, right? You know, that's the whole.
It should be an internal fight.
Should be this like really personal story, but no, whole city. It's gotta be at stake. It's not a Batman comic otherwise.
It should basically be like his friends and family try to like pull him back from the brink. Almost not that he's suicidal, but almost like it'd be a parallel to real life suicide, where someone's on the edge, and the people around them have to sort of rein them in and like give them the hope again or whatever. It should kind of like parallel that almost, and instead we're doing all this stuff with like Zur-En-Arrh and a robot, and
he's needlessly raising the stakes. Where we can just care about Bruce, like Pete was just saying, about getting too close to the edge, and not being able to keep his mental state up. But now you have him taking over the city again, the second time in the Zdarsky run, and it just I don't feel anything.
Yeah, the closest I got to liking anything was probably the Bat family debating things amongst themselves, just because it ties into what we were just saying about them sort of like try to figure out, is this actually the person they think of as a father, or how can they help him if it is him? Like, that is the heart of the story if you really want to get to it. And the idea that the warden of Blackgate, Zur-En-Arrh, is like employed, turns out to be one of his mentors. The mentor from Joker Year One was just like, oh, this is your big like end of the issue cliffhanger, is that you've brought your character back again. Okay, I don't know. I'm at a point now where this book is always interesting to talk about. There's always a lot to say about it, but like this is definitely one of the, if not the worst mainline Batman run I have read as I've been reading single issue comics.
I'm trying to think if there's been anything worse.
I'm running on fumes on this one now.
Even Joshua Williamson's short stunt, I didn't love it, but it was better than this.
Yeah. I'm like, it's getting to the point where I'm like, why am I going to keep reading this? It's diminishing returns now. Because like, again, it's not even that fun to talk about now. At least when we were doing the the jumping through time and all this other stuff. I'm like, this is wild. It's not good, but it makes for good conversation. This, I'm just like, once his old mentor showed up at the end, I was like, why? Because were we supposed to believe that the Joker killed him?
Yeah.
Well, I think that's why he's got like scars on his face, like a snail's been carved in. So I think that's like maybe
Joker leaves him for dead, and because obviously I read this just earlier.
Mm-hmm.
The last bit is like his internal monologue. Is like, well, as I'm dying, at least I'll know this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but here he is. Yeah, this idea, Joker and Batman were partially trained by the same man. Like, I just, I hate it. I hate all of it. Yeah, I mean, honestly, like, we're going to have a few rough issues wrapping up this arc, and then it's almost just like, okay, what stupid thing is Zdarsky going to do with the next arc? I can't believe, I was excited for Zdarsky when he was announced.
Mm-hmm.
If you went back and told me how much I would hate this before he started, I would have...
The thing is, like, because we mostly, not entirely, but like mostly enjoyed the night. Yeah. And that led us to be like, oh, this is probably going to be a pretty solid run.
It's like, I didn't love it. Like, I didn't think it was amazing, but there were some good issues in there, and there's some nice beats for the character.
It was mostly solid enough, though. Like, it was nothing that made you afraid to read a full run. So the fact that it is this bad is kind of impressive.
Yeah. It's rough. I feel like the last couple of issues were probably more entertaining as a review, just because we were just raving about so much of what he was doing in that Joker Year One stuff. This issue is kind of in this frustrating middle ground where a lot of the things we hate are still there, but at least we've got Bat Family sort of doing stuff again, and at least that stuff can function better as like a regular comic book. But goddamn, well, I swear, when you come out of a Batman comic not liking his voice for either Batman or Joker, you're in a bit of a rough spot.
Yep.
And there's no sign that his run's coming to an end anytime soon.
No, all the runs I like are ending in the near future, right? Where we're ramping up to the final arc of Nightwing, the final arc of Ram V's Detective.
Yeah.
I'm willing to bet money that none of us read the backup.
I skimmed it, and then I got to the end, and I'm glad I only skimmed it. That said, just skimming it, Bandini's art is really nice. Like, the breakdowns,
very clean, isn't it?
Yeah, the breakdowns are good. Like, it's very cinematic. It seems like he's got the Doctor in a box and he's dosing him with Joker water or something. But it ends up leading to when Joker cuts his face off and shows up at Wayne Manor for Death of the Family.
Why are we referencing shit from like the bad part of the New 52 and like between all the 0 year references and Joker Year One, and then that's like, why does Zdarsky have such a hard on for the New 52 stuff?
When we were talking about it,
better than Joker Year One by a country mile.
I mean, I didn't like 0 year, but it was better. I can't deny that.
Yeah, I mean,
exactly.
Yeah, I'm saying, talking about this, it makes me realize when Pete brought up that failsafe reminds him of the money suit, and then we kind of have this whole idea, and why it's not quite a machine, it's this mentor that is teaching them how to create spaces in their brains for other versions. I feel like this is all the stuff in Snyder's run that I did not like.
Yeah,
it's all in one spot, and I just. Yeah, not a fan. So, but yeah, we got to that last page, and it's Death of the Family, and he's wearing the Joe's Garage. I was just like, I don't care.
No,
I'm not gonna go back and read this
because I did like Death of the Family at the time. Joe partly made it so good is that Joker was like a horror movie villain who showed up out of the dark when you didn't know he was coming with no explanation. Yep. He could pop up anywhere. So I don't want to see a story building up to him walking up to the manor.
This is a bit more important as well. The art here, it's. I'm just like, at a glance, it looks nice. It's clean. It's strong. Capullo, though, which is what you're comparing it against when you're going back to that period of Batman. It's like it's quite intense and scratchy and like really raw in comparison to this.
I think it's not so much that I'd compare the art in terms of quality. It's more just about the tone of it not matching with what.
I mean, this is so clean and bright and sharp colors and really big bold lines, whereas Capullo is so scratchy and dark and it's really like intense.
The one thing that sticks out for me from that era was there was a scene where Gordon's talking, and then from under his bed, the Joker's voice starts coming out.
Yeah.
And just the tone and the way Capullo drew it, and then when it goes under the bed and it's just a Joker smile, and you're not sure if, this is something that Gordon's imagining or if Joker was really under there, and it just, the way that Capullo had done that masterfully with that style, and it was all grainy and sketchy, and it gave off almost like a grindhouse kind of vibe. This is not that.
Yep. All right, what are we rating Batman? Connor?
4.
Oh, well, Matt was first. Fair enough. That's fine.
I was probably going to go with a 3.5, 4. Yeah.
I wanted to go first to see how low I could go for Connor to go lower.
Yeah, but the thing is, we're all in agreement this is actually bad. So
yeah.
Well, it's not usually where Matt's like, no, it's not that bad. It's still a 6 out of 10.
No. This was I wanted to see if I went 3, if you'd go 2.5. You know what I mean?
No, it's pretty 4 purely because some of the art's still good enough that it's not that much lower.
It's Jimenez, yeah. I think 4 sounds about right. The art's kind of dragging it up a little bit, but yeah, I really like this Batman run has turned into like a sideshow of horrors for me.
I feel like I'm locked in my own prison.
Yes. We're all trapped by our own Zur-En-Arrh, and his name's Chip Zdarsky.